Da 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 da. I have to do that just so I can get on. Listen, did you guys catch any of that stuff from that last little business? It seemed like it went by pretty fast, but there were it's some different kinds of symbology, but I think it's all still the same. Not think I have this really strong feeling that what I was reading had the code in it, and just so happens to be part of what they consider as, hey, look, we found some that didn't change, that didn't have scribbles on it and stuff, and in this letter, right, or in their writing, everything can change. One word can mean many things. One dot, not even the word alone, just a letter or hyphen or something like that can change things big time. And so I'm looking for more things to help prove this theory. And when it comes down to theory, because I don't have the writings, I don't have the original writings here yet. I don't know. I'm going to write those people and see if they'll send me one. See how much it costs to buy a manuscript of the translated word, and show me where the changes that you went through and stuff like that. And because this is what they've done, they've gone through and they've omitted certain words and changed words and did this and did that, that if you went and did it this way, it would mean something totally different. And so it's that kind of manipulation that I'm looking to see and uncover. And what if they uncover code, which is basically what I'm looking for, how wonderful that would be to understand that, with the code, we could actually prove that the Quran is bogus. But if no one even knows about this code, if it's that quiet that you and I are the only ones that know that even in through scripture, through chapter after chapter, when you've got the third chapter, the third chapter is going to be about joining up, the fourth chapter is going to be about worlds and traveling, and the fifth chapter is going to be about the skin, and the sixth chapter is going to be about that branch that's just hanging over the other side, that little bit of fruit, that the fruit tree, and all this business coming on with the darkness of the land from sixth hour to the ninth, seventh being like that time of rest, whether it becomes brimstones, fire and brimstones. You would see that there was a particular cadence to the story that if you were to listen to it, you'd hear it. And what an interesting idea to think that when it says that, did you remember the Moses story? Do you remember whenever he saw it was with his family? He wasn't with the mess of people, which is like the regular story has him going up there. But whenever he's going up the backside of the mountain, and going up and finds this burning bush, and if I can remember correctly, God calls him out. It says, Moses, oh Moses, it says, I am. I am here. Here I am. And so there was really wonderful symbolic writing. But in this part of it, it just says, he was with his family. He says, oh, I saw a light. I'm going to go and check it out. I'll either bring light back to you or I'll get some wisdom from it. Maybe I'll get some wisdom from it. That's what you get from this, is this wisdom. So here it is telling us in this particular part of Islam, or in the Quran, just what we would like to hear. All right. And I haven't heard it ever before. Never, never, never. So to me, this is like cool shit, man. But even they wouldn't have known that there was this code underneath there. And if they did, changing the words ruins the code. So where it looked as though there was no salvation, and there really isn't in this homemade version of the Quran, to find little sparks and little glimpses of a much older Quran without any change to it at all. It's steeped in the code. That's just really cool. And I think I could help those guys prove their messages, or prove they're correct, that this earlier Bible is the more authentic Bible. Because it's really just calling out all these other ones. All right. He just calling out. And they say this was all memorized, and people gave them little scriptures, little pieces, that this is how the Quran was built, by people remembering the stories word by word, for word for word for word. Well, here's something that's before them, before all of this was, so before they were able to remember all the newer garbage that they were sold on this. This shows it was already in the mix. And I've been watching a lot of old stories talk that's linking different paths. This was all there was one language before. I've heard this in our Bible as well, but that there was a worldwide language that everyone knew the same thing. And Christianity, as well as this Judaism and Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism, and Islam, and Muslims, or this particular Quran business existed a long, long time ago, and none of us were around way before Muhammad was ever even born. So these stories predate us, especially when they're in this code, because they just don't write like that anymore. All right, they just don't. And I was coming on to talk about something. Oh yeah. I want to go back down to the basics, and I'm gonna, because I'm talking with somebody online, it's gonna maybe come online and want to talk. It's also keep me from doing my work. I got so much to do, but I'm just procrastinating big time. So I'm gonna minus you down for a second, because it's always a good lesson, and it's interesting how much I spend when I write in these people's things. But this idea of trying to focus on religion, of trying to focus on God, let's just say that, because this is what I'm getting from this one guy is, they go to everything, they're trying to make us focus on the inner demon. And he says, no, you don't look for the demon. You're supposed to look for God. You're supposed to look for the Father. And, in the science of it all, that's not how, that's how it's made out. We're made to worship Father. All of this is about Father. So here's what I wrote to him. I said, religion also has us focusing on the beast. Oh, he's talking about Hollywood. They're making a story up. And it really is. If people are sitting around kind of bored and all, you'll find this susceptible for particular thoughts. And here they're going to sit through a whole movie that's going to teach them how to release an inner demon of theirs, and what the cool or not so cool happenstances will come about from you doing this. And this is what scares a lot of people from doing the science that I teach, is that they think that the center eye, the single eye, is going to release demons. And the word release is kind of misinterpreted, in that when you go down into this situation, that you're cutting off the skin. The skin is the demon part of us. It's not a loose thing that's inside. It's what they're considering the skin is the lower side of us. This is when you get circumcised and they cut off that part of you that's the lower side of us, which represents the skin. So we're being baptized through water by having to take off our shoes to go over to this holy side. And that means removing our garments. I know that's a whole lot of symbolism, but those are the different stories and how that works. They take off your shoes. You're on holy ground here. So anyways, when you are in that situation, you are on holy grounds. You are connected. You're being connected. It was just so cool to hear how he was, how it worked out in the overall makeup of the number system. And then it was getting ready to listen to what I have to say. Whoosh. And I don't have anything else to read. That's just like, that kills me. I would love to know what else he had to say. But it could have been the part where everything started changing. This was the only part of that scripture that was saying or echoing something from the past without change. So anyways, I write to him, I said, religion has us focused on the beast when we worship the Father alone. God comes to us as both mother and father. And to follow God the Father is not the correct way. Yet, all religions have us praising a male deity. It makes vain worshippers out of its believers. The male side of God represents our lower conscious, the carnal mind, and earth, the carnal mind and earth have the same operating frequency of beta. Earth notoriously belongs to Satan, and so does our lower mind, representing Father. Father rules over mankind. The carnal mind is not subject to the laws of God, nor can it be. And I write in here, learn how to include mother, and then you're cooking with the true Lord. Honor thy mother and father, being the first commandments. Right? So, what we're doing is that we unleashing and opening up what would be the book of the living, the big book of the dead, the Bible, interpreted for the first time. There is only one way. If you want to read it from the top, the letter, they say it kills. And there's over 5,000 different ways to do that. 5,000 or more. And every Bible that they produce outside of the very first translation, which is one we read off of, the King James Bible, gets watered down more and more. And one day, they're just not going to use the King James Bible. It's going to be a one matchstick out of thousands of them out there to read. And it's just going to ruin everything. Oh, yeah, we'll fix that. Device is low on disk space. I'm going to have to move some things in order to continue. But anyways, I have to end this because there's not much room left on my disk. My device is running out. So let's see. I hope this works for you guys. I hope I mentioned something in here. You know, the mankind, this place where it says mankind's not going to save you. Only God can save you. So what they're saying is mankind ain't going to be able to save you. So it means Father's not going to be able to save you. But God, Elohim, the two of them together can save you. All right? But one of them can't. They can't. And even this guy Jesus in our stories, he tells us, he says, by myself, I can't do a thing. And when we find out that we're him, we are those people that are sitting around doing nothing and waiting for Jesus to come to them and God someplace else. That's total disconnection and denial of the self as being connected to God already, that you are vacant inside. That space inside of you is desolate and isolated and desolate, whatever the words are. But anyways, it's just of a mess. And you're full of death and decay. You're like one of them speculators or skepulars or something like that, a business in the cemetery where you look all pretty on the outside, but just full of death on the inside. See, these are stories that come directly out of our Bibles, all right? And they mimic the same stories in the same code through all these other stories and back text about God or this consciousness that we're talking about. But it takes two to tango, you guys. All right. So you're going to have to get used to understanding that any time that someone says, thank Father for this, or they like around here, Jared, this grotto behind St. Mary's and pay money to this demon god, because of course, because they're talking about the material side of things, paying him off to miss us and go and hit someplace else. And we get missed. They say, oh, thank God for that grotto. Well, shit, fire. Well, God doesn't destroy stuff. That's something else altogether. But anyways, I hope you guys, put your money where your mouth is. And there's God. Feed him that way. Don't give any money to a preacher. Don't seek outside of yourself for any of this help. If you have trouble, bring everything to the Lord, And this little conveyor system inside our body to the willing is open to us. Is open to us to change and fix things and restore our lives. Don't wait for someone to come to you from the outside. Don't put all of your eggs in one basket, and have it never fulfilled. knowledge is going on now. You can turn your life around now, and you could learn that God is already in you. You're connected. You just need to disconnect from all this garbage on the outside. Doesn't stop us from living our lives the way we want, but we then have assistance by the higher conscious, and we continue this dance the rest of our lives. And those that learn how to do this while they're alive will live forever and ever and ever and ever. That means that you'll never be dead again, and who knows how many centuries, how many eons my little guy inside of me has been going riding this roller coaster world of life before it's said it's had enough. So anyways, get there. It's what you come here to this channel for, is to find out why. But I can't do all your homework, but I point to it and show you how to get to it, and then you learn yourself how to do it. All right. It'll be paused automatically soon. All right. Adios.